Hello, this is John,
And Sheree.
and this is Word Explosion.
Cut!
Nah, we're gonna leave that. That's fine. But this is Word Explosion Outreach. Yeah, this is what happens when you film a lot of videos back to back. Yeah.
I know that's right. Pastor, we're sorry.
Yeah. So we are talking about the 5 love languages written by Gary Chapman. So it's just basically talking about the different ways people express love. We've gone over a few. I suppose I can talk them. Okay. You know, I'm going to let you say the 5. I said
Oh,
the last
yeah,
time.
you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's your turn.
Okay, the 5 love languages are acts of service, quality time, gift giving, words of affirmation, and physical touch. We'll be covering that last.
That's our R-rated now.
Oh, no, we don't have any of that. No.
So, yeah. So today we are talking about acts of service, which I feel like is maybe one of the more vague ones for people. Like, I don't know. I feel like the other ones are kind of obvious, you know. Like what is an act of service, you know?
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, I feel like the basic way to say is like chores, like that. I feel like in a relationship, that's kind of like the more, you know, understood thing.
Yeah.
Is like doing a chore for somebody is an act of service. But when we go into like the Bible verses and stuff like that, then it definitely incorporates a lot of other ideas.
Yeah.
So, and again, like the Bible, there's a lot of symbolism, and you know, service is a broad term, let alone acts of service, and you know. But in general, it's doing something for someone else, which almost ties into the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah.
And actually, some of the Bible verses I'm talking about will embodiment some of that. And, you know, especially in the Bible with Jesus, humility plays into a lot of, like, acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the verses I'm going to talk about is, everybody knows about Jesus washing the disciples' feet.
Oh,
so
yes.
This is sort of the epitome of, like, humility, where it's like, you know, I'm going to do this thing that normally is seen as something like beneath the Savior.
Right. Like,
Can you
not
imagine,
the king.
can you imagine, like, you know, any politician now washing the feet of someone? Like,
right.
you know, I mean, there's some pastors who might be kind of hard pressed for them to like wash someone's feet too.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
you know, they'll pay someone to wash someone's feet. So.
Right.
Okay. So the verse is in John 13, and I think I'm gonna go. How far am I gonna go? I don't know. I'm just gonna read a lot of it because it's all good.
I know that's right.
So it was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them.
Amen.
Honestly, it doesn't get much better than that.
That's right. That's right.
That is the true epitome of what an act of service is. I am doing this thing for you to show that I care about you, to show we are equals. We are, brethren. We are brothers. We are sisters. We are companions.
Yes.
I care about you, so I'm willing to humble myself and do this thing, even though there's that perception of like I am above you. But you know, and that's one of the best embodiments of Jesus in general. Like, do unto others. It's the act of service. It's that respect, that equality, that humility.
Yes.
And there's other Bible verses too. I'm gonna read one other one, but it's just important to understand like. And I read all of it because I like that part where Simon's like, no, you don't do this. Like, why are you doing this?
Right.
And he's like, you will understand through the process. So that's another part of like acts of service people don't always understand is like they are doing it for you, but like also they are doing it for themselves too. This is something to show. Again, it's your love language. You are showing the love. It doesn't have to be like something that's like necessarily wanted or needed. It's a way that they feel like they can contribute. And that's one thing we talked about when we were talking about like giving gifts was like you can contribute in various different ways.
Right.
Which it may not always seem like doing a chore is a way of showing love. But if it's like I hate doing dishes, and my partner does dishes, that's very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Nobody likes doing dishes. If you do, you are magical, and I'm very confused by you. Actually, like, if you clean a toilet, oh man, like clean my bathroom, no, that's special. You care about me. Normally, I'm like, no, don't do that. No, that's too much.
Oh, wow.
But so it's important to see that, especially within the Bible, where like, that's what Jesus did. Like, I feel like Jesus was the embodiment of that compassion, of that, I don't know, the outreach of God was Jesus. Was showing that like God's love is not always. It's not just that base gift. It's not just like the life that we were given. It's this blessing throughout our life, this humanity, this compassion for one another.
Yes.
And Jesus was the embodiment of that, which is important to remember. Oh yeah, and another one of my favorite verses. So it's faith without works, which is in James book 2, verse 14. And there's another semi-long one. Let's see. What does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, depart in peace, be warmed and filled, but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You believe that there is one God, you do well. Even the demons believe and tremble. But do you want to know, O foolish man, that faith without works is dead? So, and again, I like this verse because it talks about, you can say things. You can say like, I love you, or I will do these things for you. But if there's nothing to back it up, what is that? What is like, what is love if there's no action? If there is no communication of that love? Like, it's hollow, Yeah. And same thing with faith. Like, I feel like I'm gonna call people out here. But like, some people are like, oh, I'm a Christian, you can trust me. And it's like, are you?
Are you? What are you showing?
Like, and there's been, there's bad Christians in the world, Christians have done bad things, but like you're trying to like leapfrog. Like you're trying to like get me to do something or to understand something without showing it. You know, I can tell you I'm a millionaire, but like if I don't show you I'm a millionaire, are you gonna believe me?
Right.
You may be like, oh man, that guy's got like no money. You know,
he's not a millionaire.
I always tell people like, you know, you can run around and say like, I'm a doctor. You know, I'm all these things, and it's like, if you,
I forgot that movie with that guy.
Oh, you talking about like DiCaprio?
Yeah, DiCaprio.
Oh,
yeah.
what is it? Catch Me If You Can. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you know, you can sort of like have this whole pomp and circumstance and sort of portray yourself as like something.
Yes.
But like, it's designed. You know, it's a lie. Yeah. Like, you're not that. I always tell people like, if you're smart, you shouldn't have to tell people you're smart. Like, you know, there's some like miscommunication, whatever. But like, you know, I'm a doctor. Like, I should be able to back it up. Yeah. Like, if I'm anything, you know, if I say I'm a carpenter, I can build something. Like, you know, I like, you know, very like blue collar jobs because it's like they're like, hey, you can either do it or you can't. You know, and some of those things become very readily apparent. And, you know, acts of service is sort of part of this, where it's like, you know it when you see it, you know. You didn't have to do anything. And sometimes we fall into this sort of, I wouldn't say it's a trap, but like, in relationships, there's expectations of like the minimum. I get it's kind of a minimum, where it's like, I think you should do these things, and that it's not always communicated. Like, and that again, it comes to expectations, where it's like, and your partner may get mad, where it's like, I thought you would do these things because they would do these things.
Right, that's a communication process. Yeah.
And again, like, acts of service is a love language, but if it is not communicated. Right. That these things are a priority, then that's when you have problems. You have that failure of communication. Yeah. Because, like, you know, it's great if you're like, this person bought me this gift, exactly what I wanted for my birthday. Like, okay, they're very intuitive, they picked up on that. But not everybody can do that. Like, sometimes you gotta give people a list, give them some ideas. Or they'll pick up and, like, you say, oh, I really want this. Acts of service is kind of the same thing, where you can't just assume somebody's gonna like see dirty laundry on the floor and get as upset as you are. So, you know, and you may be like, I'm leaving it there, so they're gonna pick it up, and like, I put it in the way, and it's like, we've all done the thing where like, why is this thing in the way? And you just kick it down the hallway, you know? Because you're like, nah, I'm busy. I don't want to deal with that now. And because, like, nobody likes doing chores. You know? They're a chore. So...
Well, I don't mind doing them. In fact...
You can come to my house and do my chore. Are you going to clean my toilet?
It's kind of soothing, actually.
I don't know. I'm embarrassed, like, my toilet sometimes, so... I got kids.
Yeah, but whatever. He's clean. he's just going... He's very, very organized. So he's just like... Just, you know,
don't look off camera.
But when you were talking about that, it made me think about Gary, Dr. Chapman, when he was talking about his own relationship with him and his wife. I think they were married like 50 some odd years or whatever. But he stated that when during the marriage, his wife felt like he wasn't, well, this was beginning on before he did all that. He wasn't like doing any of the traditional chores. Like men don't do dishes, men don't vacuum, men don't clean. That's all the woman's duty, you know. So that's the era that he was raised in. That's what he thought. But his wife
she was like, "Hey, you need to give me a hand."
She was a little more modern because she was like, "He's telling you're telling me that you love me," because he was very good with the affirmations. He would tell her every day, I love you, you're the best wife, and, you know, and I don't think that time, I don't think she was doing that. that was his love language that he was expressing to her.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of, like, I was going to ask you in the previous episode when you were talking about, because you like to give gifts and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So is that your love language? Like, do you like to receive gifts if you're a gift giver? That's what I was going to ask you, but I didn't ask you.
Yeah, and you know, well, one thing. So there's many 5 love languages books. The original, he kind of focuses a lot of like people having an individual one, which I think some of the later ones he sort of walks that back, and it is more of like, you know,
he's got a lot,
different ways of expressing it.
Yeah,
and you know, I feel like nobody is just one form of love language.
No,
you know, it's, I mean.
It's just that was your primary.
But the vast majority of people do some kind of physical touch. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Kids come from somewhere. Sorry.
Yeah. But then, like, you're a kid, like, to make, you know, their kids like to be scratched and, you know, touched and stuff. Like, so, you know, they like the dad to wrestle with them. It's physical touch. You know. Yeah. It's all over. You know, all the love languages need to be utilized, but it's just that particular individual, what do they like the most, and it just takes you to investigate to find out which one they like the most. I mean, he puts in the book where he's got like strategies or whatever to, you know, figure it out and stuff like that, but you have to take time to do it, but don't tell them that that's what you're doing, you know, because then you kind of like, you know, it's not really real.
Well, like I said, it's, you know, it is nice to have somebody who can intuit what you want.
Yeah.
That's not everybody. Like, even in good relationships, there's always, I mean, the whole point is you don't want somebody who is just like you. Like, you're around yourself all the time. Yeah. So you want your partner to be somewhat different from you. And last episode, we talked a little bit, like, it's complementary. Like, you kind of fill in each other's gaps. You know, become more of a whole person. Like, a relationship, you should become a better person. You should grow as a person through the relationship. Okay. I'm not saying like, woo, we can do it, you know. But like, you know, you should learn new things. You should seek out new things, you know. Because otherwise, like, it's kind of boring. But like, some people like boring. Like, they like the mundane. You know? It depends what they find. But like, you don't, like they say, you know, don't knock it till you try it kind of thing. Where it's like, you know. And that's, you know, I feel like to some extent, good relationships, you need some of that challenge. You need to be introduced to new things. Okay. You know, not that's a bad thing, but like, and again, that can be an act of service, you know. So acts of service can become a very nebulous thing. So say I've got a friend's birthday party. Like, it's a good friend of mine, me and my partner, we're gonna go to it. She didn't really want to go, but her going is an act of service to me.
It. Yes.
Like I said, this is where it can become like very sort of abstract, where it's like, this is not something I would normally want to do, but I'm doing this because I care about you. Yes. Who here has met in-laws or, you know, partners, extended family or friends, and you're like, I did not want to do that. And you did it because you care about the person. Yeah. You know. Yeah. That is an act of service. And like I said, it goes beyond like chores. Most people kind of think of chores where it's like, we're a couple, we live together, these things need to be done. But it's literally just doing things for the other person. Right. But like, you know, it's not like, I mowed the lawn today. I'm out. I'm good. Like, I don't have to do something else. Right. Like, you know.
Because that's the intention behind it.
Exactly.
Because you were talking about that a little earlier about the, you know, manipulation part of it. Yeah. You know, like even with your children, you know, you don't want them to think that, you know, your love is conditional. Yeah. You know, like, oh, now that Billy did this, now you're gonna get, you know. Sometimes you could kind of like warp the relationship by doing things like that. But it's when you're showing true and genuine, you know, concern or care, you'll be able to decipher and determine.
Well, and that's the thing. It's the intention behind it. Like, you know, you need to change your sheets. You need to make food. These are things that just have to be done. If you are doing something for someone else, that's when it gets closer to being an act of service. But like, it should never be a transactional thing.
Oh,
the last one we were talking about, like, when things can become abusive. And, like, when you start seeing expression of love as transactional, that's not good. Where it's like, I'm not going to do these things unless you do something for me. Mm-hmm. Or, like, you weren't nice to me, so now I'm going to be rude to you. I'm gonna do these things.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Good can become good and bad can become bad, but, like, it should not be seen as, like, a tit for tat kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it.
So, and
that's not good at all.
No. So, and the other thing is, like, too, like, with all the expressions of love, all the love languages, is, like, there is not a finite amount of love. Like, love is infinite.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some people will say, like, you can love me too much. But, like, when they say something like that, it's because maybe their love language is not being addressed. So you can put your love language too much on someone, but in general, you can keep loving people, like, keep doing it. Like, I can love bomb you and give you too many gifts, but, like, if that's the only thing you care about, then hey, maybe that's your ideal relationship. And sometimes you see relationships like that where it's like, why are these people together? And then you're like, he's buying her gifts, she's buying him gifts, like, oh,
that's all I know.
Not saying she a gold digger, but
not saying she's a gold digger, but
But for some people, like, that's the agreed upon definition of the relationship. That's the breakdown they've agreed upon, and they, like, everybody's happy. Like, some people have, like, been in materialistic relationships and it lasts a long time because like that's what they care about. That not everybody's relationship is gonna look right to you. Like, and we'll talk about other forms of relationships and all sorts of blended things.
Green Acres.
But, like, I always tell people, like, just because you don't like it and you find a problem with it does not mean it doesn't work for someone.
Right.
Not that saying, like, everything's healthy. People can kind of be content with an unhealthy relationship. But, like, as long as everybody's consenting adults and, like, there's no power imbalances, no abuse, then it's like, you don't have to agree with it, but, like, they can do their thing. So there's
like, what's wrong with it?
Yeah. And like you were talking about, like, the more traditional view of relationships where it's like the woman does all the housework, does all the childcare, the husband works and comes home and just watches TV or whatever. And it's like, that wasn't very equitable. And, like, one thing I always think about is people are like, oh, divorce rates are so high. And it's like, because they can be. Like, women have an option. Like, and men too, but, like, women didn't really have an option before. Like, they couldn't really find much work outside of the house. They couldn't, really leave an abusive relationship. Because, like, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
Are they going to leave the kids? Like, how are they going to find a job? And, like, and people jump into marriage too, But, like, people have always jumped into marriage. Like, our parents, grandparents, they got married in, like, 15, 16, whatever,
Yeah. My friends got married at 19. A lot of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, for real?
Yeah. And, like,
some are married too,
some are married, some are divorced, and it's like, you have that option. Like, you can be like, because, like, when you are a high schooler or even, like, a young adult, you are vastly different than you are, say, like, 3 to 5 kids and, like, 30 years later. Like, and that's, when you get into sort of, like, middle-aged, you see a lot of divorce because people, like, well, I don't have these, like, child obligations. We've been together a while. Like, I kind of want to have a shift in my life. I want to have my midlife crisis or, it's not always a crisis, but, like, I want to change my trajectory of what I'm doing with my life. And that doesn't always align with the other partner.
Could that be a form of selfishness, though? Because when you get married initially, I believe that it's for better or worse. And when you make the decision of being married, you kind of know what you want. You know what your expectations are. You know what the other person.
Ideally.
Okay. Well, yeah, because like you're saying, things change, but then where does the adaptation come in? Where you adapt to the other party? Like, what's really, when you say I do to that person, are you just saying I do for what I want, or are you saying I do for what we want?
Like I said, ideally, yes, you should be like, I want to live and grow with you. I like who you are. We have, a closely parallel perspective of our goals in life. But things can change. And this comes back to the start of a relationship and the end of a relationship should be about compromise and communication. Okay? Because, if you don't start it and everybody's on the same page, you're definitely not going to end it on the same page.
Okay.
But, plenty of people have, had that conflict. And, they're like, we've tried to work, we didn't try to work, things didn't go together. And then you're like, this isn't working, Okay. And, even in the most amicable of divorces, there's still disagreements about, how things end. It's their fault, it's my fault, things like that. So, but you should always, everybody should understand when you're separating that, this is the end, And sadly, that's not how it is. But if you truly care about the other person, you should want to get to that point where, this is why I feel I can't stay with you. And then the other person would be like, oh, that sucks. And then move on from there. But, it doesn't, like I said, that's the ideal.
Yeah. Well, how many people do you think put God in their relationship decisions? When you're, figuring out, before you even really get to these love languages, you're getting to know the person, their character, and things like that. But when you're dating, do you think that most people take into consideration of, if this person is, compatible spiritually more so than physically? Because I think most people look at the physical more so.
Yeah, I feel like in general, people more physically.
Okay.
For me, it's more, spiritual, yeah. Yes, I'm a pastor. I'm not super spiritual. I am, but I'm not. For me, spirituality, religion, everything, it's kind of a personal thing. It's my internal moral code. I tend not to do things that, don't jive with me internally. Don't always agree with church at large.
Yeah.
But, for me, that's my morality. So, people that are, more closely aligned, my partners, ideally, should have that similar worldview, those similar norms and, values. And, my now divorced partner I was with, we very much were aligned with, children. So it's
okay.
That was part of it. And similar worldview about things. We won't get into
of
the
course,
other issues.
No.
Maybe that's a after dark podcast or something.
Late night podcast coming in near you.
What do they used to call it? TV Sweeps Week or whatever? Where ratings actually matter? Yeah.
Oh man.
Jump the shark and do crazy stuff.
No, we're not gonna do that one. No. We're sticking to love language on this episode, you guys.
No. With church, it's love. And in general, it's love.
Yeah.
So
But I think that would be a help. It would really help people when they put God in their relationships, because that's a strong foundation to build up on. Because I said, God is love. So in order to, develop and just like you said, you're, the master showed an act of service.
Yeah.
These are disciples. I'm your master. You're looking up to me as your teacher. And I'm able to get down here and wash your feet which is what you said. It was like disgraceful almost, or something like. Yeah. You know, like how could you do that? Yeah, it's beneath. Yeah, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
And it's like those are the lessons, and those are the characteristics in a person that you would want to have, based on the fact that you want someone that would sacrifice and love you beyond what it might look like or what other people might think. Because he went and did that, even though like later on down the line, what was it, Mary, the lady who washed his feet with her hair? You know what I'm saying? That service got right back to him. That's that reciprocation thing you were talking about earlier. But, you know, you must have the foundation of the Christ mindset when you're going in any relationship, because in order to understand these love languages, you know what I'm saying, you have to know, you know, how to hear, how to see, you know, and what are you looking, what area are you looking from? Like, are you looking from, you know, from your social network, like, oh, this person's on this media, and oh, they got so many likes, oh, this person's got all these likes, well, I'm gonna like you too, and guess what, I'm gonna try to show myself to get you, you know, I mean, where are you coming from when you're getting, you know, in these relationships and things like that? I'm confused, because like you said, I'm traditional, so I'm like old school, so like nowadays it's like, oh, I can love you, and then I can love you, and then I can love you. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so where's this, you know, connection? Where is the person's, you know, being in a partnership, being in a relationship, when you can go and get, you know, so many different people? That's what we're going to be talking about, the, you know, the other stuff later on, because, you know, it's like, what's going on with society? What are we doing here?
No, and... Well, I think a lot of that is, like I said, you need somebody like-minded. So for you are, I know you all too well, so you are a very spiritual person. You know, church is a very strong component of your life. So, you know, you want to seek that out. But like, you know, that there's people who are like adamantly against anything religious, anything church-wise. Right. And, like, you know, I've known some people, and some of them it's because they feel like they've been, like, you know, pushed away from the church for various reasons and everything. Mm-hmm. But, like, they can have completely similar morality to it.
Okay.
So, and that's where it gets into, like, the faith with works, you know. Are you a Christian in name only, or are you a Jesus Christ Christian who tries to walk by, like, the views of Jesus? You know, that within Christianity, there's so many different, like, you know, denominations, so many different groups and everything.
It really is.
So, you know, like, and people outside, they're like, what? There's another one? You know, Lutheran, Methodist, Baptist, man. You know, like, your head can spin. Yeah. Like, I mean, you can just look at, like, major denominations where it's like, you know, Christian church, you know, and then there's Catholicism, and it's like, you know, the most churches versus like Catholicism, there's a vast difference of things, like a lot of doctrines, a lot of things. Yeah. So it's finding someone who aligns that, like I said, you know, you want somebody different, but I think the core values, like,
that's,
you know,
key.
Yeah,
that's very
like,
key.
You can be a Catholic and like date an atheist if you're like, oh, you care about, like, it comes down to what do you like about that spirituality. What are you getting out of that religion? What is it about that you enjoy, that you feel you need to seek, and what are those values that comes from that? So for you, it is sort of that, like, the respect, the compassion, the, you know, you see the world in a very Christ-like way. So, like, you need somebody who sees things in a similar way. It's easier to find it in a church sometimes. It doesn't mean that's the only place you can find someone like that. Because there's plenty of people in the church that don't see it that way.
Right,
you know?
And they're there every Sunday, and they're like looking for the next girl, or looking for the next guy. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to take that preacher. Oh, yeah, he's mine. I'm like, hey, he's got a wife. What are you doing?
You know, hey. We're filming now, and we're near Easter, so we're getting to the, you know, like, I hate to call people out, but like the people that like, oh,
everybody comes to church.
I go to church 2 days a year, and it's Christmas Eve and Easter,
yeah.
and
I know,
like,
that's right.
you know,
At least they're in the door.
Those are the Jesus days. You gotta show up. You know, you drag your kids and you know.
Dress
But like
them up real
again,
cute.
like yeah, if somebody aligns with that, but like I think people get too caught up in like I said, you want somebody traditional and only see it from that small perspective of like, you know, they need to be this church going Christian, but it's like I said, you need to look deeper than that, because I can say I'm a Christian, and you'll assume those things because you see that in yourself, but you need to actually analyze it and be like, what of being a Christian, what like traditionally my view of a Christian, what do I like of that, and what do I want of that in my relationship? Which is hard. Like, you have to really like analyze that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it comes down to those values, the way of treating other people.
That's
like,
very, very important.
You know, I've been working on a whole book about a lot of this stuff, so that's long. that's a lot of work. So we'll worry about that later. But you know, people value different things. They give priority to different things. If you care a lot about, you know, your kids, a lot about, you know, like you strongly identify as like a father or mother, or you're like, nah, no kids for me. You know?
Yeah, some people don't want children.
Like, you know, you can't. There's wiggle room. Like, people have some wiggle room with what they will do in their life. You know, like you cannot wholly change someone, and you should not try to, because like, you know, again, like I always say, like where you're at in the relationship, you can't expect it to like totally change or get better or whatever. Like,
why you say that?
People don't change a lot, you know. It's like steering like a giant boat, you know. like yeah, we'll slowly start moving. Like we're moving, like, you know, like, or ship crashing. You know, like you're gonna see it coming. Yeah. You know, and you're seeing that trajectory, like, and that's kind of how like relationships go. Is like we're steering this big ship. We're all together. We got our 87 kids, you know, whatever. We're all in this boat together.
Right.
And like, as anybody who's got kids, if you try, the more kids you throw in, it's gonna be harder to move. Like, you are less nimble. People without kids, they have a more nimble life. There are people where it's like, you know, I've known people where they're like, I'm just gonna up and move across the country. I'm gonna move to another place. And like, if that's not your life, don't date somebody like that. But sometimes people get caught up in the like, ooh, it's exotic. Like, this is something like I know nothing about, which like, that's cool. You know, it's good you're trying to learn about that. And sometimes it does work out where like that wanderlust, that they're wanting to move all over the place, is just a small component of their values. Okay. Maybe they are like, well, I'm going to do this while I'm single, but once I get married, I do want to kind of settle down, but I also want to travel a lot. Like, growing up, like, my parents, like, I've traveled to, like, every state except Alaska and Hawaii. Like, you know, as a child. Yeah. So, you know, I'm well-traveled, and, like, but I know some people were like, I've got a kid, I can't do anything. And it's like, man, I go everywhere, yeah. I don't know, my oldest daughter, she was 1, and we drove to, like, Chicago for a wedding. Wow. So it's like, and I was like, that's just kind of what it was, and we wanted to go, and, like, it's like, well, it's family, so, like, they can help, so it's, you know. Yeah, because my friend takes his kids, like, everywhere. Yeah. Like, to the, you know, he wants to, he's taking them on cruises, he's taking them to Disney World, land, all over. Yeah. Those are child, you know, you want to experience things like that with your children. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if you like children, I mean, they can travel too. You don't have to. And there are children, you can make them do that. No.
You're so silly.
No,
like,
but
you're gonna do it.
But again, like, you know, it's one thing, you can be like, this is something they may appreciate after the fact. Like, obviously don't take them to something they're definitely not going to enjoy. Oh, no. But, like, again, like,
kids shouldn't see.
And we're getting very tangential, but as a parent, you should be flexible. You should be willing to sort of like, oh, these plans did not work out. Children are crying. Nobody's happy. No. Like, we're going to plan B. Like, this just did not work out, I took them to this very stuffy, boring museum. Like, this was a bad idea.
Bad idea.
You can be like, let's get some food. We're going to zip through and we'll do something else. Yeah. Like, and that is part of having a parent. Yeah. Or being a parent is you have to have that flexibility.
And those are acts of service when you take your kids to places like that, and they
and the fact that love. Kids willingly go with you is an act of service. Yeah. We're like, oh man, like Dad really wants to see this thing.
Right.
And they're like, oh, fine, Dad. Yeah.
Yeah, show me some love. Show me a little appreciation.
Yeah. I like nerdy things, and I will drag my kids to stores or museums, and which they're fine. Hopefully you try to, everybody wants their kids to be like them to some extent. They're your mini me. So. Yeah. But again, you also have to be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this trip that I know you would enjoy or whatever. Mm-hmm. As long as you got the money.
Right.
Disneyland, I'm like, I'm like, nah, you need to be older for that.
Right, you gonna enjoy this trip.
Like, I'm gonna wait. Yeah. You can't even ride rides. So like, middle school, let's push high school.
Right.
You're short, so you gotta get back.
Yeah.
Like, no, those kids coming back, they didn't have fun. Don't worry about that.
That's funny.
But again, it goes back to, acts of service, like, there's a wide range of it. But again, it's the intention behind it. Why are you doing this service? Yeah. It's not just like, it's got to be done, and like, I'm just going to do it, and then I'm going to be like, after the fact, like, I did this for you. Like, like, no. Like, that doesn't count.
No.
Yeah. Like, if you're just...
That's what you transactional.
And, it's the idea of like, oh, I'm going to like do this horrible thing that everybody hates and I'm going to make a big deal of it. And it's like, again, it goes back to the intention.
Yeah.
Where it's like, not that like, there isn't some value in doing something that's horrible and,
What's the value in
like
it?
a big... No, but I'm saying like something that's got to be done. Where it's like, I shouldn't have done this.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, like, you shouldn't go into expressing love and expecting, something back. There should not be that assumption that you are obligated any recompense. Like, just because I do something for you, I give you something, I love you in a certain way. You do not have to.
It's all a choice. It's all
out there do not have to reciprocate. Like, we are beings of free will. We talked about that last time. Or was it this time? I don't remember. We have free will. We can do whatever we want. Like, you don't have to... You can say no to everything.
And it's a choice. Everything is a choice. You can choose... Just like you can choose to love. You can choose to honor your partner's love language. And you can choose not to do it. Dr. Chapman said something about... one of the guys said... Well, if her love language is this acts of service, I'm not washing dishes. I'm not vacuuming the floor. Oh, dusting? Oh, not me at all. So if that's your love language, I'm not giving it to you. So that was his choice. He chose not to do her love language. I don't know if the marriage is still in effect or not, but you always have a choice. What do you want to do? What makes you comfortable? If that doesn't make her husband comfortable and he doesn't like to do that, okay, is that a what is that, deal breaker? Mm-hmm. Is that well, we're married now. You're supposed to, what is it? I don't know. I've never took vows. What's the vows to love you for the good, the bad, and the ugly? Oh, that's Clint Eastwood. That's close. But for better or for worse is the thing.
In good times and in bad.
And in good times and in bad. So under that impression, what is it that you don't understand about the marriage?
Yeah, and this goes back to like how there has to be compromise and some understanding going into the relationship. That's why I'm a strong believer in like you should be do a lot together. You know, I know a lot of people don't want to move in together before they get married.
Well, I don't. I would. That's traditionally, you're not supposed to, because then it's a risk of fornication, and then you sit there and fornicate. You know, what's the point doing? You know what I'm saying?
Shh, save that for next time.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother.
but
yeah,
I
get to go.
You know, I obviously don't do more than you expect, but like you should fully understand the person. Like you should know how they live and everything. Are you?
Yeah, you know,
putting some subtext.
Yeah.
And one thing I keep forgetting and then re-remembering is I forget what the term is, but it's like malicious, like incompetence. That's not the term. So, like one partner will ask another partner to do something, and the partner will purposely like fail at doing it.
On purpose.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, that's bold.
I asked you to do this thing.
Right.
And you didn't
do
it. Like, you failed to do it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and sometimes stuff does come up, you know. But like, you know, that can be, like, we can do a whole episode on that.
Okay.
Like, and I've seen a lot of, you know, people have become more aware of this. But like, some of it's like just very obvious where it's like, I'm just gonna fail to do this, so now that's your thing to do. No, sorry, just thought a little too deep about things for a minute there. but you know, it's that idea of like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this act of service, so I'm gonna purposely screw it up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a kid, though.
You know, have you ever heard a man say like, I don't change diapers? And it's like, what? Why not? Like, anybody can do it. Like, it's not a difficult thing. Or, like, I was just talked earlier, like, I don't know how to cook. I can't cook. And it's like, have you used a microwave? Can you push buttons? Like, you know, like, yeah. Technology makes a lot of things very easy. And, you know, Google and YouTube exist. Like, you can look things up very quickly.
Yeah, you can. Like, depending on what. But now, see, now you're going into age, because now some people don't deal with technology like someone else.
Hey Siri,
would.
how do you look stuff up?
Right.
If you can ask a question, you can look things up.
Well, if you have Siri, you might not have an iPhone. True. You might have an Android. So yeah, I mean,
if you're an older person and on a flip phone, you are not watching this video. Sorry. I'm a hater. Good. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Or maybe your grandkids are making you watch this. I don't know. Or you can be a young person who's just very hateful of technology. So
yeah. Some people are scared of cyberspace. I guess I don't know.
But yeah, we're going all over the place again. But that's fine.
I know we can't help it.
So so acts of service. You know, do it because you love the person. Do it because the person doesn't want to do it, or they will appreciate that you did the thing.
Yeah, so.
And do it with an honest intention. You know, don't do something expecting something return.
Key.
You know, because like I said, a lot of these things just gotta be done, and you know, it's not exactly a showing of love. It's something that like just has to be done. Like, it may be a nice thing. Maybe you can dress it up. Like, you know, maybe you always cook dinner, but maybe you're like, you know, I'm gonna make something they specifically enjoy for dinner. And that's where it becomes more of just like, it's not just a chore. It is that act of service. It is that humility, that respect, that thing I'm doing, in addition to the bare minimum. You know, like, minimum's nice, but you gotta go, you know, an expression of love, I feel, is just a little extra, you know. It's not just going through the motions.
That's true.
Like, if you're just coasting in a relationship, not much love is being shown. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like, a lot of people, like, you just kind of get caught in that cycle of, like, this is what we need to do, just get through. Like, I need to cook food, I need to take care of the kids, I need to get them ready, you know. Just things have to be done as a human being. Like, you have to work, you know. But
some people don't.
Some people don't.
Yeah, so
and
a lot of people don't know.
Things get very difficult.
Pandemic, everybody don't want to work. Now, what's going on with that? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Nobody wants to work.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, why is everybody not working? What's going on? Like, how are, you know? I don't understand. I'm old school.
See, we're all just gonna become influencers, and that's all. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Let's tell the plumber that. Yeah. When your sink's overflowing, let's find out. You know what I'm saying? No, we need to work, and you need to go to school, get some trades. You know, you can't just walk around all day not doing anything and thinking somebody else is gonna do for you just because you got parents that's hard work and everything. You can't just sit around and just, am I going around?
No, it's fine. I will tell. I feel like in general, like, money makes you lazy. Because then money can solve all your problems. You have enough money, you can solve every problem.
Well,
but will
the Bible says money answers all things.
We're not getting biblical. We're saying, like, here on earth, in the mess of humanity,
that's money.
Money can pay for a lot of things. It cannot pay for salvation. We will say that.
You got that right, because that's free.
But, maybe you can pay someone to pray for you.
Hey.
Good luck.
Good luck on that one.
But, so I am a strong believer in, like, you can educate yourself in things. It may be something you don't want to do whatsoever. Like, I'm pretty creative. Like, I can figure a lot of things. I know how to Google. I know YouTube. I can figure out a lot of things. But there are some things where I'm like, I am willing to pay someone else to do it.
Right.
But I learned that I didn't want to do it. So that is okay. And, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to do nothing. You can do whatever. Find what's comfortable for you. But always be willing to know. Because if you don't know what you're paying for, you will be scammed. So know what services you are receiving.
Hello.
Because if you don't, then what are you paying for? And so that's a weird point to end, but let's end on that.
You silly. I was trying to find a lady that washed Jesus' feet.
Oh, okay.
Luke 7:36. So that I was looking for that. Yeah, okay. Good.
So
Luke
7:36.
Yeah.
There's a lot of foot
what
washing.
Was that one?
You know what?
Acts of service? What was okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got one
There's
more.
a lot of foot washing, like,
in the Bible?
Yeah, I don't know. I get it. Like I said, Bible's a lot of symbolism, and that is a very good example of, like, this is a humility thing,
Yeah.
So,
well, pedicure,
but also maybe we'll get into the whole, it's all health and safety and stuff back in, like, ancient times. So yeah, we could.
What was the symbol for that? I mean, why did they wash the feet?
Like I said, like, and a lot of symbolism, like the head is like the apex, the crown, spirituality, the seat of your mind and everything. And then the feet is just kind of like, we walk around our feet, we step in filth. So the idea of that, like, somebody who is, like, holy touching your feet is a sign of, like, oh, you're willing to, like, almost grovel at my feet. It is the ultimate example of humility. I think that's why it's become such a, like, strong symbolism.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, or it'd be like, Jesus cleaning the stables or something in other, like, books or whatever. So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, if someone wants to wash your feet, be like, hey, cool. But what do I got to do out of it?
Right. Hey,
what are you expecting? Yeah. So we've been going through the 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. This has been Gifts, and next episode I think we're gonna cover physical touch.
Yeah, physical touch. It's gonna be interesting.
I don't know.
He's like, don't touch me.
Yeah, that was funny the first time.
Yeah, it was.
That one's gonna be posted.
Okay, well, we thank you for joining Word Explosion Outreach. This is episode 4, I believe. So if you haven't seen the others, go check those out as well, and make sure you check out the other ones that's coming up. And we'll have the information for what.
And if you got questions or comments, please, comment on the videos, or I'll get some emails sent up and stuff. What are the ones you're doing? I gotta still. TikTok. I'm going to try and put some stuff on Twitter, but mostly YouTube, because I can post long videos and I don't have to do a lot to it.
Okay, cool. All right.
So, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.